People are activists in what they do. Yes.
I've always been a supporter of land trusts, cemetery land trust, funeral land trust. And I've always seen them as a good thing because you're conserving land not to be developed. Could you maybe explain a little bit more of how that's detrimental through what's happening right now, through Agenda 21 or whatever's happening right now? Because I'm very new to that.
Okay. I'm definitely going to hit on that because land trusts are being positioned to be a hub, a regulatory hub for all things preservation. They've been, they're one of several groups that has the ability to, in Massachusetts we have Mass General Laws, Chapter 184, Sections 31 through 33, allows for perpetual deed restrictions on land. And that's their only tool. The modern day land trust, that is their only tool. They don't go out and actively teach people to be good stewards of the land. I've seen a lot of land trusts put on workshops and work parties and educational things. Those are all great. I'm on board with all those things. Those are the things that I would do if my department was fully funded. But where they lose it is in this perpetual restriction on that property. To me, that's multi-generational theft. To the Constitution, it's multi-generational theft. Because what you've done, if you think about it, like with your open space plans, they often talk about history and culture and preserving history. I'm for preserving some old building in town, you know, that truly has some historical value. The townspeople should recognize that. They should come together and say, yes, that's a worthwhile purchase. All right, we'll take that off the tax rolls. Now, I am opposed to environmental programs that are not sustainable. I'm going to use some of their own words back at them and reclaim some of these words. A good environmental program must be economically sustainable. So if we have something that is completely on life support through grants, if those grants ever dry up, and I've seen this happen, I could spend another 2 hours talking about cases where state or government control of land is turned into a disaster. But they get too much land. It's almost like Rome. They got too much to maintain. They can't maintain what they have. Now I've got pictures on my phone of the Quabbin Reservoir. The largest man-made reservoir around, supplying most of the water for Boston. And I got a call one day from one of the guys at DCR, and I try to have a great working relationship with not only government but developers to have things as efficient and streamlined as possible and still have the oversight needed. So I have a good working relationship with this gentleman. He calls me up and says, Dave, come on now, I want to have you take a look at a few trees we want to cut. They're near a brook and we want to take them down. They're dead and we don't want any trees to fall into the road. So I go up there, he described where it was, and it happened to be right by the cove where all the state police boats dock. It's right next to the tower. If anyone's familiar with the Quabbin Reservoir, there's that lookout tower, and the state police cove is right below that. I come around the corner, and to my own embarrassment, I haven't been so busy, I just haven't strolled through to do a drive-through in the Quabbin in a while. There were acres and acres and acres of standing dead red pine. Red needle scale, killed them dead. This guy wanted to take down 6 trees that could fall into the road. And I said, you've got a disease out of control. And it's obviously killing every single tree. This is not a small thing. It was brownout. I said, all right, I'll give you permission right now on the spot to cut these trees down so no one gets hurt. But I want you to come back to me with a plan for this. And I looked across the Quabbin at the other side of the watershed where there was acres and acres and acres more. They weren't concerned with dealing with disease. They're already, and he told me at the time, says, we're already in discussions about cutbacks, about leaving entire areas to let Mother Nature do what it does. Well, you know what happens when they do that? You look at the national forest, when we are foolish enough to let the federal government out of its 10-mile square and we let them start owning property. You look what we got out in the Midwest, all those fires in Colorado. All right, this is how they start. They get you your your mass of land here and they'll say, we want to turn this into national forest. They'll go in, they'll convince everybody, say, this is going to be great, you won't have any neighbors. Says it'll be quiet and peaceful, it'll be beautiful. And they'll convince the people, say, all right, we'll go along with that. We'll give up our authority over this real estate. And boom, you got a national forest. Okay, the greenies, the lefties go in and do this. The greenies on the right-hand side go around the edge here, these business and development types, and they'll say, you know what, we've got to change zoning around here. Again, this will help you out. We don't need any more single-family homes. Says, but we're going to exempt you. If you're a senior citizen, we'll exempt you. If you've got an existing single-family home, we'll exempt you. You know, come on, folks, this is great. There's no more, you're guaranteed not to have neighbors. Okay, people go in and vote. Then all of a sudden, this forest that you no longer can go in and manage, completely overgrown with invasives, lightning strikes and catches on fire. Okay, the fire department rushes out there and they're stopped by the environmentalists and say, hey, we got to make sure you're not going to go blasting a fire road through a vernal pool or some other endangered habitat. I've seen fire departments as cases where they've been held up anywhere from 1 to 3 days from going in and squirting some water on a blasted forest fire. Of course, what they want to protect burns down. Fire doesn't know a boundary. It's going to burn off from this through these single-family homes. And you want to hear some people sing the blues when they go in and say, hey, I'd like to rebuild my home. And they say, sorry, chump, you're in a zone that does not allow single-family homes. Sends them packing. The forest that you're supposed to, be cherishing and trying to preserve is completely mismanaged. Not mismanaged, unmanaged. Just left to do whatever. We know the Native Americans managed forests. As they migrated around this country, they didn't deplete any one area. They got rid of the tinder and the underbrush.